Shalom Aleichem. Let's learn a Sicha together. Yisro Aleph of Chelik Tazayin, a magnificent Sicha. Absolutely magnificent. And I struggled with the Sicha when I learned it because I found that he doesn't clearly, at least for me, say what he's trying to get to. He says everything around it, but I was struggling to find the words. So I learned the Sicha a few times. Maybe for some of you, learning the Sicha the first time you managed to get it. For me, it took a few times till I got it. I think I got it. So the first key element of the Sicha that's important to explore is what the Rebbe says in Ois Gimel. Mivolt gekent masbezan, you could have explained, but even that stays with us. We have to add on it, but we have to mivolt gekent. We could have explained. What is we could have explained? That Dalet Amish Halacha includes Chachma Yediyas Alikus. Just like the Beis Hamikdash, there was found the Beis Din HaGadol, which is Torah Shebal Pen Halacha, and also Aron HaKodesh, which is Pnimiyas HaTorah. I thought that was quite an interesting insight, the idea that it must imply, just like the Beis Hamikdash had both Pnimiyas HaTorah and Nigla, so too outside, after the Churban. Then in Ois Dalet, that the Nikudas Bira Inyan, the point is that Achdus Hashem, Avos Hashem are halachas. That's something that you don't see often, that Nikuda. You think of Avos Hashem and Achdus Hashem as the Chassidus, the extra, the but not halacha. And the Rambam writes that it's a mitzvah leida, to know. So that was another, powerful insight, which both Ois Gimel and Ois Dalet give us a new way of looking at learning Chassidus. First of all, the idea that the Aron HaKodesh, Kodesh HaKadoshim refers to Pnimiyas HaTorah, which is quite amazing, and the idea that it's halacha. So already we're building up this idea that the Rebbe was exploring, and that is why in the Rambam, in the Akdama to Pirush HaMishnayos, says that you need both Chachma and Halacha, because Chachma, as we see, is something very important. Then in Oisei, the Rebbe goes into the whole point of the Daled Amos. Why only Daled Amos? And is L'chayr should be Gimel Amos. And then he says something very powerful after he explains that the Daled Amos, the fourth Amos, when you pick the hands up, he says like this in Ois Vav. Und das drückt sich aus in Mekem Agashmi, the fourth paragraph. That mitzad bria, naturally a person takes three amos. That's the rosh, guf, and regel. And the arms are lower than the head. The avoida, this is the punchline. Von dem Adam besteht in them, the avoida of the person demands and it is founded on, as als sich aufheben hecher begimel amit mitzad bria. That person should uplift himself higher than the three amos that comes from nature. Higher than the highest level within your creation, was das is the rosh, which is the head, the makam haseichel. Das heißt, meaning, mit sein havana vasaga, not that you should leave seichel. Here for me is the key of the Sicha. Mit sein havana vasaga, he should, together with his understanding and knowledge, nid bleiben beim geder von agbala from rosh, not be limited by how far the mind can take him, nor sein reingetan in inyanim was seinen hecher von sein rosh. That he should be involved in things which are higher than the head. Why do I mean this is key? Because later on throughout the Sicha, you see a lot about the Rebbe's focus on Maisa. But ultimately, the Sicha's question wasn't about why Maisa is included. The Sicha's question was, where is Chachma? Why is Chachma included? And over here, what he's saying is that Chachma is, you're talking to use your brains, but use your brains to understand things which are higher than your brain. And then he talks about Yadav, that has to lead to Maisa, etc. Und zu lieb die zwei Yanim, he finishes also his verb. And because of these two things, Chachma and Maisa, and again, when I was learning the Sicha, where did he talk about Chachma? I didn't see much Chachma. He didn't refer to Chachma at all. He just referred to Maisa. I didn't see the word Chachma. But what he's saying in that paragraph, the Avodah from the Adam, that is the Chachma. The Chachma is that you use your Seichel for higher Seichel. In other words, you learn Chassidus. And then in Ois Zayin, the Rebbe talks about it in Torah, the highest level of Torah, the Neshama of Torah. Then he talks about why it's connected to Yom Shechar Beis Hamikdash, and he talks about the fact that Aron is the highest level, it's level number 4. And then he talks about that in Ois Tes, even though the great addition in Torah was Luchashnias, which came through Tshuva, is Aber Yodua, but nevertheless we know that the Matan Torah was once. And over here he says something super powerful. Even though everything was given in Matan Torah, here's another insight. Nevertheless, the Nishmasa Dairaisa wasn't necessarily the details of it, the pratius of it. When was it exposed? When was it brought into this world? By Vayered Hashem al Sinai, not by a Chassidus, by the simple fact that he went down. Which for me was like a mind-blowing idea. Where did you see that before? That B'chinas Soit Shadeh came out and was niskala by Vayered Hashem al Sinai. So what was the Rebbe saying at the beginning of this? The Rebbe was saying, even though technically we learned that all these additions, including Pnimis HaTorah, came in Luchashnias, nevertheless, Matan Torah will never happen again. So we must say that was somewhat included in Luchas Rishonis. And specifically, where was Pnimis HaTorah included in Luchas Rishonis? In Vayered Hashem al Sinai, the idea that he came down, which is the whole idea of Tachtonim Yal Yanim Al Yanim Yal Tachtonim, which is a mind-blowing idea that all the other parts of Torah are exposed within Aseres Adiblis. Pnimius HaTorah is where is it exposed? In the fact that Eibishter came down. Not in anything he said, but in the mere fact that he came down, that's Pnimius HaTorah, revealing the secrets. Which again is just an amazing idea. And then he connects it obviously to Zohar, what the Zohar says, and we accept the opinion that Yisro came before Matan Torah and he was a necessary step for Matan Torah. And what did Yisro have? He had the ultimate mila of both Chachma and Maaseh in La'umazeh on the other side. And what did he accomplish in his searching for Avodas Hashem? He managed to accomplish that his Chachma was now elevated to a higher level. And his Maaseh. He was a Kohen Miloshin Sar, so he was Maaseh. He was a Kohen Miloshin Kemer, a priest, and that is Chachma. But nevertheless, what did he do? He upgraded himself and realized that the only way he could achieve the ultimate shleimus is by his chachma beyond and his maisa beyond. Then he spoke about, at the end, in Ois Yud Beis, he says, now that we just mentioned, we must say that, and that was what Matan Torah is, we must find out within Yisro, and that's where he brings the interesting nekudas that both Kriyas Yamsuf and Mechames HaMolek showed the idea of how does a tachton go up by breaking himself l'mayla magbala, chachma l'mayla magbala, maisa l'mayla magbala. He brings it in Kudah. So what's sitting at the heart of this Sicha? A beautiful Sicha that's based on Yud Shvat and the Shabbos after Yud Shvat, Tafshin Chav Daled, 1964. What's at the heart of this? What the Sicha is telling us is that maisa ikar, of course. Yeah, you have to do Maisa. But then there's an element of Chachma as well. And that is not learning Torah for the sake of learning Torah, which is beautiful. But Dalet Amash La'alacha, when we say Chachma Maisa, we're talking specifically about the kind of Chachma that leads you to Maisa. That's at the heart of the Sicha. The Chachma that leads you to Maisa. What's the Chachma that leads you to Maisa? Chassidus. Because as he explains, with the 4 sons, that Dafka, you put the Chacham next to the Rasha and other places as well, that Dafka, the fact that Maisa and Chacham seem to be furthest apart, it's actually the closest. And Dafka, when you learn Chassidus, is when you appreciate Maisa. As you know, in the Geras HaKodesh, the Alter Rebbe explains the incredible thing of Tzedakah, that who gave him the biggest appreciation for Maisa? Chassidus. And to finish off, one of the big things people say is in Dor HaShvi, in the 7th generation, the Rebbe changed Chassidus. And it became from a Haskalah to very much go do Mitzayim. But this Sicha the biggest negation to that. What's he saying? No, I didn't change. It's the same thing. If you understand Chachma, you understand Maaseh. If you're understanding Chachma and that doesn't lead you to go put on tefillin, and it's not Chachma. It's Torah, but it's not Chachma. And when we say Miyom and Rambam writes that includes Chachma, we're talking about what kind of Chachma? The Chachma that leads to Maaseh. So it's not, Lubavitch has changed. No, that's Lubavitch. That is the Nekudas that the Alter Rebbe wants us to understand. That Chachma is Maaseh. Would love to hear your thoughts.